So, mine and Nathaniel's love story. I don't even know where to start, so I'm just gonna start from the very beginning. I'm gonna start before I even met him.
Where do I begin? When I think of mine and Sutton's love story, I think of just purest, fun, amazing things that I have ever experienced, and just straight up a gift from God is really the best way I can put it.
Before I met him, I noticed that it was a lot of I just felt like guys didn't notice me, like guys didn't like me hardly ever. So every time I was out somewhere with a friend or with my sister, it was always them. It was always them that the guys would talk to and come up to, and it was never me.
A few years before I met Sutton, I was what I would call kind of lost and confused and just really desperate. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that literally every day it was on my mind. When am I gonna find my wife? Is today gonna be the day that I find my wife?
And at the time it was dang, why is it not me that anyone wants to talk to? But then later on in life, looking back, I'm so thankful because I really feel like God was just protecting me.
And when I would go places, when I would go to the gym, when I would go to the grocery store, I would literally see girls and think, is that my wife? Is that my wife? And it's kind of embarrassing.
Before I met Nathaniel, I was in a relationship, and something about it just didn't feel right. There was nothing wrong with this person. It was just something in my heart was not settled or not right. And I talked to my dad about it, and he was like, why don't you write down a list of everything that you want in a husband? And even if it's silly things, just write everything down. If you're creating the perfect person for yourself. I'm like, okay, this is kind of silly, but I'll do it.
That is where I was, and I'm not proud of it, but I know it was such a strong desire of my heart to find a woman that I could love and be loved by. And eventually God brought her to me, but I didn't know that was gonna happen.
One day I'm in class and I just start making this list, and I wrote down, it was the most random things that I wanted. I would want someone who knows how to play the drums because my dad knows how to play the drums. I've never even met anyone who knows how to play the drums, but I just thought that might be kind of cool. If I'm creating the perfect person. And obviously someone that's a Christian and someone that has the same values as me, and someone that I'm attracted to, someone that's funny.
Every day I'd wake up and I was scared that I would never find someone that I could love and be loved by, because I was very picky. I was a very picky person. I wanted a virgin girl. I wanted a Christian virgin woman to marry. And as you can imagine, there's not many of them out there.
And I made this list, and after making it, it just became clear to me that the guy I was with, I shouldn't be with him. And then I went a year of being single before meeting Nathaniel, and that was not really intentional.
And not to say that all the women out there aren't good enough, if they weren't a virgin, that I would have looked down on them or anything like that. But that was just my desire in my heart. And I feel like God placed that in my heart because he eventually brought me that woman. And that was Sutton.
At the time I was thinking, where am I ever gonna meet someone? And how am I ever gonna run into anyone church, school, gym? That was it. That was my only chance of meeting someone. I just had a lot of doubt. I'm never gonna meet someone. How would I ever meet someone?
There were literally nights that I would cry out of frustration because I was so frustrated with relationships that I had tried to make work, girls that I had been dating, and it just seemed like no matter what I did or what I didn't do, that it just didn't work out, even though in my mind I thought they would be the perfect match for me. And it was such a frustrating journey I had dating girls before I met Sutton. And so when I met Sutton, it was yes, I think this is the girl I can marry. So leading up to the night before Sutton came into my life, I had reached an all-time low.
But then one day, just out of the blue, my younger sister was on Tinder in the past. She wasn't currently on it when she was telling me. And at the time she had a boyfriend. I had been single for a year, and she was like, why don't you get on Tinder? You can meet someone on Tinder. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. From what I knew about Tinder, and I could have been wrong, I don't know, I thought it was a hookup app. So I was like, I'm not going to be interested in anyone who wants to be on Tinder.
I said, God, I am so done trying to make things work with girls, so done being on the hunt, trying to search and find the one that you have for me, that I just give it all to you. I give it all to you, God, and if you wanted to come into my life, I believe it will happen. And if not, then hey, that's totally fine too. You know, I was preparing myself to potentially be single for the rest of my life.
She's like, well, let me just download the app. I'll show you some people I've matched with. You can see there's like good people on there. I'm like, okay. So we're like sitting in the car and she downloads the app again. It saved her matches. So she's flipping through people and I'm looking at them thinking like, you know, I'm just kind of giving her the time of day, but I'm thinking I'm not going to be interested in any of these people, but I'll just look just to amuse her. So I'm looking and then Nathaniel's picture pops up and he's the only one I said anything about. And I was like, okay, now that guy's cute. And she's like, really? You think so? Okay, I'm gonna message him and I'm gonna tell him to message you. And I was like, oh my gosh, don't do that. That's so weird because like he matched with you, you know, he's probably interested in you. And she was like, no, I'm doing it. I don't care what you say, I'm doing it.
I was crying and I was so frustrated. I was praying to God. And literally the next morning I woke up with a notification on my phone from the dating app Tinder, funny enough, that Sutton's sister has messaged me on Tinder because we were a match. And she said, hey, I know this is gonna be the strangest message you ever receive on here, but you need to message my sister. I immediately thought it was a scam or that it was just, I was like, whatever. Anyway, she sent me the link to Sutton's Facebook profile and I clicked on it and right away the picture I saw was like, wow, this girl is gorgeous. And not only is she gorgeous, there was something in her that I felt like I just immediately recognized.
So we started talking and he ended up asking me to hang out with him pretty quickly, which I was surprised, but I was also happy about because I was just like in the stage of my life where I'm not wanting to like play games and mess around. I'm just wanting to kind of get to the point. And to me, you can't really get to know someone until you see them in person. So it was like messaging is fun and all, but it can only get you so far. So I wasn't really about doing that for very long.
The first words that popped up into my mind when I saw Sutton was pure. And I felt like I just knew. I was like, I know this girl is a virgin. I just know she is. Just, I could see it in her. So I was looking through pictures and I was thinking, man, this girl is just so gorgeous. And so I messaged her and sure enough, that first conversation that we had on Facebook, I found out that she was indeed a virgin. And I found out that she was a Christian and loves God, loves Jesus. And that just got me so excited.
He was like, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, let's try to hang out. So I was like, sure. I had obviously looked at his pictures on Facebook. I'm pulling in, then I see him sitting on a bench and I had to drive past him and I got out of my car and I mean, after looking at his pictures online, I knew who I was meeting up with, but let me tell you, pictures did not do him justice.
I remember when I first saw her, I felt like I was looking at an angel.
When I saw him, I was just like, whoa. I mean, he was not only the best person I had ever like talked to or met up with, but he was like the best looking person I had ever seen in my life. So I was really nervous and walked up to him and hugged him.
We had good conversation. I was actually really surprised how comfortable Sutton seemed in her own skin and being around me, because when you see someone like her that looks so pure and innocent, my first judgments were, I hope she's like knows how to flirt.
Everything flowed really smooth and easy and it just felt right. Like everything felt right. He was really easy to talk to. After that, he was not a big texter and I was. Like, I like to text people because I felt like that would show he was interested in me. So this whole time, like at the whole beginning of our relationship, I'm wondering, is he interested in me or not? Like, I didn't know, you know, he would ask me to hang out, but we'd only hang out like once a week. And so it was very slow paced getting to know each other because we weren't texting, we weren't talking on the phone. It was just like one day a week we would get to have a conversation.
It was a couple dates in, she asked me a question that was really kind of just shook me up a little bit. She said to me, she said, hey, out of curiosity, I just feel like I wanted to ask you this question. Are you dating anyone else or are you seeing anyone else?
And he was like, well, I did hang out with another girl like after meeting you, and like nothing happened. They didn't hold hands or kiss or anything, but they did hang out. So I was like, man, like that just really hurt my feelings because like, man, I thought he liked me, you know. I thought that we had something.
Looking back on, I regret and don't think was the right thing to do, but Sutton being the caller outer, she holds those standards, those high standards. She was like calling me out on it, and I think she even told me that she didn't want to continue dating if I was going to be seeing another girl. So I was like, all right, you got it, girl. I'm gonna cut this other one out because I see a real future with you.
And so I think that really like hit him, and he was like, yeah, you're right. You don't deserve that, and no one deserves that. I don't even know why I did that. And he never saw that girl again.
She was not holding back at all. No, she was not playing any games. And it was one of the things that really attracted me to her. Was one of the things that she said to me was, she said, I never want you to have to worry about our relationship. When she said that, I was like, this is my girl right here. Because all the girls I had dated in the past, I felt like it was just a constant game.
And our third date, I think, was like the date for me. That was like the most special. We met up, went to the lake, sat on a dock, and just talked. Then we went to see a movie, and that was the first time we held hands.
One of my intentions with dating her is I wanted to take things really slow. I didn't want to kiss her for a while. I didn't even want to hold hands that quickly, because I just wanted to set that, I wanted that to be the pace of our relationship, that, hey, I don't want this to be a super physical relationship. I even told her that if we go anything beyond kissing, or if we go beyond the boundaries that we set physically for our relationship, that I can't be with you. And I think that really set up a strong foundation for our relationship, and knowing that we were going to honor God first with all of our decisions.
There was something about it. I mean, something about being around him and like even just holding his hand, it was just so different than anything I'd ever felt. So exciting. And I mean, when people say the fireworks and stuff, it was like that, but it felt more intense than that. It was just like so special, and it sounds so funny to say it.
Just like that handhold, to a lot of you guys watching it, it might sound like, oh, that's so ridiculous, but that handhold was so magical.
Something that I think was special about our relationship and unique from the beginning was that we prayed together from the start. I mean, praying over meals, praying over random things in the middle of the day, just random stuff. We would pray together. And I really liked that because we never had an awkward moment of praying.
We decided that we wanted to go take a trip together, and I thought this was a great idea. I still do believe that one of the best ways to get to know someone is taking a road trip with them. So we decided to take a road trip across the entire country from Georgia to California. It was a 2-week trip, and it was such a blast. I mean, we were together every minute for 2 weeks straight. And along with that definitely came some challenges. We got into our first fight.
It was so amazing. It was so fun. We went and drove in his little Prius all the way to California and all the way back to Georgia, and had a lot of stops along the way. He planned the whole thing out. It was by far the nicest thing anyone, and the nicest thing he, I think even to this day, has ever done for me. I think all my favorite moments looking back with him are like when we're traveling, because it's just so much fun.
Because I was like, hey, if we can make it through this trip together, then we can probably make it through life together. And it wasn't too long after that trip that one night I was in my room and I was praying to God, and he just revealed to me that Sutton was the one. She was going to be my future wife. And I just broke down in tears. I was crying because God had just given me this revelation that Sutton was going to be my wife. And it was just such a beautiful moment.
He ended up asking me to be his girlfriend after 3 months. He asked me to be his wife after a little over a year.
One prayer that really stood out to me that I used to ask God for, I would say, God, I pray that you give me a woman that is so beautiful that it hurts. And that was like one of my big prayers over my future relationship. That moment really came true on our wedding day. When Sutton was walking down the aisle, it was just like, it was like such a beautiful sight that I was literally hurting from the inside out. And you can see it. You can see when she's walking down the aisle, the look on my face. Not only was I just bawling and crying, and so with so much gratitude and thankfulness to God for this moment that I had waited so long for, but it was like painful. It was like she was just a beaming light of beauty coming at me. And I felt like God was just smiling down on me saying, you asked for it.
It was a day, I mean, I'd prayed for that day my whole life for my husband. I prayed for him my whole life, and it was just so awesome to see that unfold, that Nathaniel was my husband, and God chose him for me. Like, he's the one that he intended for me to marry my whole life. And I still think, when I look at him, I'm like, wow, God really outdid himself with this. Because that list I was talking about that I wrote, he is everything on that list. It is a little scary how to a T he is my perfect person. It's like I wrote down a perfect person and God's just like, here he is.
One thing that I want to say is that, while watching this video and hearing about love stories and watching movies on love stories, it can be so easy to get caught in the trap of thinking that when you find that person, your life is going to be complete. When you find that person, all your dreams are going to come true. You're just going to be so filled with happiness and joy for the rest of your life, and nothing else matters. Well, I just want to say that that's not true. And especially as a Christian, it is so important to not idolize your boyfriend, girlfriend, future spouse.
Overall, looking back, it's clear to me that God wrote our story. And to encourage those of you out there who are waiting for someone, looking for someone, let God write the story. I had said before that I felt like, where am I going to meet someone and how is this even going to happen? But it wasn't up to me. I didn't have to make anything happen. God just brought it together for me.
It's so important to put God at the top, and then when you guys come together, you meet each other at the top with God. Trust in Him, lean on Him, even though you may not see it, that you believe it. And even if He doesn't bring you the person that you've always hoped for, and you're single for the rest of your life, well, trust in Him with that and see what amazing plans He has for you in that journey, in that story. And that might be your love story, you and God. It might not involve another person. But whatever your love story is, let God be the author of it, and He will write it better than you ever could.